Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. And if you're new here, thanks for stopping by to check out the video. Today, or this week, we have another project. This is a Hayward Navigator Pool Vacuum. It actually goes to my pool. And I've had this for nearly 12 years. And it's been repaired a few times, a part here, a part there. But it is in need of a complete rebuild. Or at least I'm going to try. So stick around and we'll see how this goes. And if you don't have a pool or a need for a pool vacuum, you still might want to stick around because it could get entertaining. All right, let's get going. This is a great pool vacuum. I do see them sometimes get a bad rap online from reviews and that. They're incredibly well built, I think, but parts do wear out and have to be replaced from time to time. But the parts are cheap, like really cheap. You can even buy aftermarket parts, which quite frankly, from my experience, are just as good as the OEM parts. But they do need periodic maintenance and a part here and there replaced. Just different parts wear out. So as far as this one goes, pretty much everything on it is going to be replaced. We're going to be replacing the wings. We're going to be replacing these front and aft flaps. The shoes on the side we're going to be replacing, as well as the feet. These are little rubber feet here that we're going to be replacing. So all of that's going to be replaced. We're also going to be opening this thing up and replacing all the guts, and I'll show you here exactly everything that we're going to be replacing on this. I'll lay out all the parts. Okay, so I've got everything laid out here. So we have the wings here, and I showed you on the actual unit itself, and in fact you can see how big these wings are. And when you look at the vacuum itself, those wings are just about gone. So we're going to be replacing the wings on each side. These are the shoes we're going to be replacing on each side. These are just little caps that cover where the screw goes for these wings. This is the internal impeller. This is what actually spins and helps pull debris into the vacuum and gets it sucked up into the vacuum hose. This is a gearbox. This is actually what allows the pool vacuum to stop, change direction, and creates that somewhat of a random pattern throughout the pool so that it covers like it's supposed to. We have another set of gears here that we're going to be replacing, and these have never been replaced on this vacuum, so I know it needs these in a bad way. We have a couple of ball bearings here that the actual impeller rides on. We have some bushings, and then we have two cradle assemblies, and they have ball bearing bushings in those as well. These things rock back and forth. It's what creates kind of a rocking motion and allows this thing to actually walk. I don't think I mentioned these. These are the rubber feet. These actually come in a couple of different materials. These are rubber, which is what my pool needs, which is basically your typical in-ground pool. Depending on the surface, like if it's I believe if it's a vinyl or fiberglass surface that you're using this in, the feet are made of a cork material. I think I'm right on that. And then lastly is this grill in the back, as you can see, has seen its better days. So we have a new grill that we're going to be installing as well. So pretty much this is going to be brand new except for the actual housing. Now we'll show you on the housing, and this is going to be a little bit of an experiment on my part. There are spots here where it's actually rubbed through over the years. Got one on that corner, and then on the front we have a little bit larger one. So I'm actually going to try and fill that. And what I'm going to be using to do that with is this product, which is a JB Weld water weld material. I think that this will work. It works on all kind of materials. It dries to the touch in about 20 minutes, and I think it's basically set up enough in an hour that you can put things back in use. But I'm going to let this, once this is built, I'm going to let this, or rebuilt, I'm going to let all of this sit for overnight so that that JB water weld can harden properly, just to make double sure. So that's everything that we're replacing. I'm going to walk you through this whole process. So again, if you do have one of these, you're going to see how every single part gets replaced. But again, if you don't, it may be entertaining as well, like I had said earlier. So here we go. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is focus on the parts that are external by just simply removing things. This is a pretty easy product to work with. These wings just unclip. You can see this thing is gone. I'm surprised it was even working at all. Actually, it wasn't working that well. In fact, I'll show you the primary problem with this is that it was just running in circles in my pool. I'll pop a video up right now, or a view of that. You can see how it was just going in circles. That is not proper operation. And I'm sure it's that gear set that I showed you earlier that was causing that problem. But these other issues, like the worn out wings, definitely would contribute to having problems. All of these pieces and parts have a very specific purpose, either for how it moves or how well it vacuums, that kind of thing. So there we go. We've got our wings taken off. Now we're going to take these front and rear flaps off. They just pop out. And you just have to kind of give them a little persuasion. We'll use a screwdriver here to pry this out. There we go, just like that. All right. Now, next thing we're going to do is take the shoes off. We have to remove this little cap right here. And we have a new cap that comes with the new shoes, so we don't have to worry about replacing that. And there's actually a little, I don't know if you can see that. There is a little hex head nut down in there that we're going to have to take out. We'll go ahead and get the caps off first. I will say, from having worked on these a number of times, the most difficult part are the shoes. That has always been my experience. The parts that are inside are ridiculously simple to work with and replace. So, all right, let me get a nut driver and we'll get these two hex-headed screws out on each side, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so we'll get this screw out. There we go. Now these just don't fall off when you take the screw out. We're actually going to have to pry these off. There's the way they install is they friction fit onto some post in the back. So you'll see that in just a moment. We'll get this one done here. All right. Okay, next thing we want to do is pry these shoes off. So to do that, I'm actually gonna, you don't have to have a big giant screwdriver like this, but if you have something that provides a little bit more of leverage, it's a little bit easier to get these off. So I'm just gonna pry this upwards. Turn this upside down and make that a little bit easier, I think. There we go. You can see this pin that goes through. Now all of this is going to be replaced once we get inside the unit, but that takes care of getting the shoes off. And we'll do the same thing on this side. There we go. Now that has our shoes off. So that's got everything externally removed from this unit that we need to remove from it. So the next thing we're going to do is start taking screws loose along the bottom here and exposing the inside of this and showing you the parts that we're going to be replacing. I'm going to actually use my cordless drill here with a Phillips head. All the screws in this are Phillips head. And they're different sizes depending on where they go. So it's not a bad idea to just keep track. Make sure that you keep track of which screws go where. These are little short screws that hold that piece on. Now I've done this enough that I'm pretty well acquainted with where things go. There's two more screws right here. And again, these are two short screws. So the way I look at it is we're starting from the top and kind of moving, or from the, if looking at the bottom, we're starting from the highest level and going in. And so these top four screws are short. This one I'm going to leave here for the moment. You don't have to take that out right away. And the next thing that we'll take out will be this bottom plate. So we'll loosen all four of those screws. And there are four. These are long ones. Set those aside. And this bottom plate will just come off. There we go. All right, set that to the side because that's definitely going to get reused. All right, next thing we're going to do is remove these two screws. And again, these are long ones. So now we can pull this base off and we can start to expose all these parts that we're going to be replacing. So we have the gearbox right here, and I can just literally pull that out just like that. I showed you the gearbox from earlier. So there's our gearbox. Set that aside. These are the what I call the cradle rollers. There is a screw that holds that in. And that loosens up that bushing. And this is actually what those shoes connect to. So this pokes through the side, and that's what our shoes will connect to. So what happens is these things rock back and forth, and it makes the shoes move, and the rubber feet on the shoes in turn grip the surface, and that's what makes this walk across the surface. So these, again, I'm replacing everything, so we're just going to pull these out. There we go. And we have the little bushing that goes with it. So we'll lay that there. These are bushings as well. Again, I have new ones. And that's pretty much all we have to do there. As you can see, we didn't have to take this screw out. This is, you could loosen this screw and service the inside of this if you needed to. If, for instance, it got some sort of clog or it sucked something up and got caught in here, this is designed so you can take this one screw out and get into that area without having to dismantle the whole thing. But that has that part taken care of. Now this piece, of course these two pieces mate together. So this is our impeller, which is mounted to these two bushings, these roller bushings. I could lay this in here as well. It just fits in here like a sandwich between the two parts. So, but we're going to be replacing that. It actually seems to be functioning pretty well, but again, we're doing everything. Now, we've got all of those parts out of the way. We need to, this is the top half of the vacuum. So the next piece we want to get to is here. Oh, one thing I should have mentioned, we have this grill that's in the back. That just slides out. Now this is real brittle. That's at least part of it. The other part is actually right here. So we have a new one of those. All right, so we took the two short screws out of this piece, and we have 4 more screws here. Turn this over and let those screws fall out. There we go, we've got our top, and that's going to be reused. And here's where we have some more gears, and I have a kit for this as well, where we're going to be replacing all these gears. This has got a lot of slack in it, which it should not have, and there's no doubt that that is partly what is causing my issues. Now the one part I don't have is this right here, but I believe this is okay. This is a really sturdy, heavy-duty part. It's usually these little gears here that tend to have the biggest issue, so this piece will stay. Let's get our screws out here that we just loosened. We'll take that out, and that's where we have another, again, that was probably a little fast there. So this was installed here. So I took those 2 screws out and we lift that up. And this is where we have another gear. That's being replaced. And we turn this over. We have some pins here. Those are going to be replaced. This gear here is held in by a really small Phillips head screw. I may need to go for a smaller, let me get a smaller Phillips head to be able to get to this right here. I'll be right back. Okay, to get this gear out, which is mated to this one underneath, we have a tiny little Phillips screw right down in there. So we're going to loosen that up. That takes care of those 2, and then we have a bushing that comes out. This we're going to be reusing. This we'll be reusing. This is going to get tossed. And there we go. So what I'm going to do now is just kind of clean these up on the inside just a little bit. There's not a lot I can do to it, but I'll clean what I can, and then I'll bring you back and we'll start the process of assembling this and showing you how all these parts go back in. All right, so I'm just putting the finishing touches on just cleaning this up. I'm not trying to get it to look like new. I'm just making sure that there's no debris, dirt, that kind of thing. Anything that's obvious, I'm just trying to get that removed, and so that we can start the process of putting everything back together. And I'm just using some all-purpose cleaner. Again, just a good idea to make sure we don't have any crud in the unit while we got it apart. So I think I've got all of the parts clean. So now we can start putting it back together. Now, we're going to start kind of in reverse order that we took it apart. And that means we're going to be starting with this unit here, and that's getting those last bit of gears that we took apart. So I have the kit right here of replacement parts. So we'll go ahead and open this up. So there we go. We've got our pins. There's our little screw, the bushing, the two gears that get mated together. Everything is there. So we can start putting this all together now. We can start first by putting in our bushing. Now, we've got that in. We also have this pin, which goes right in here, just like that. So a nice fresh pin. The black gear, the small gear, goes in like so. And if we turn it over, put that on, and then we can take our teeny little screw, pop that in there. Hopefully you can see that. There we go. Oh yes, very nice. That works great. Now, we also have this pin, which we have a replacement for. So I'm going to pull this pin out, just like that. Here's our replacement pin. Now we can actually start installing our other parts. We have this gear, which goes there and meshes with this small gear. And then we have there we go. That goes on there like so. Let's do this again. So this is going to go on the bottom. There we go. So now we'll get two of our short screws. Put that screw in. All right. I can tell already that this is working much better. And then we have this piece, which goes in, slips right on top. Oh, and that works much better. All right. All right, so now that we have this piece assembled and ready to go, we can start to put things back together. I'll push this in like so. Just like that. We'll turn it over. And we need two long screws in the back. like so. We have two short screws that need to go in the front here. Now, that's got the top half. You can probably hear that. It works really well now. That is much better than it was before. So now let's start putting some of our other parts in. So one of the things we'll do is put our impeller in, and that's going to be one of the things we have to do is put these bushings in, and the bushings, each side of this is keyed, so the bushings, just turn them and then they'll slide on when they get to that little key. Do the same thing here. So we got the two bushings on the side of that, and that just sits in just like that. So we got nice good movement. Now we'll set this aside for the moment. We'll bring this unit back, and we'll start to put some of the parts in that. Now the first thing that we're going to need is this bushing set right here. We'll go ahead and get this opened up. So we have this bushing right here ends up fitting together like so. The half that looks like this goes in first. It just kind of cradles right down in there like that. Once we have that in, we need to put these outer bushings. And they go in, if you can see that, there is a hole there. And then there's one right on the other side as well. And so we're just going to put those bushings right in those holes. And it will be a tight fit. There we go. And we'll do the same thing with this other side. And we know that we've got them in properly when they end up flush with the outside of this surface here. So we have those installed. We'll put this back in. Now, this is the point where we need to put our cradle rollers. And so these cradle rollers, this end goes to the outside, and there's no left or right to this, to these two pieces. They can go on either side, but we want to make sure that this end, just the round end, sits on that center bushing. So we'll just get these to squeeze in. And it may take just a little jostling to get them in all the way, but they will go in. Now, once those two are in, oh, and that is working so much better, you'll see that these two ends right here sit right in those two notches on this one half of the cradle bushing. So we've got that all in place. And these rock freely, which is important. Then we have the upper part of the rocker bushing. We'll get our piece sitting right down there. We have a fresh screw that they supply. So we're going to take that. Now, that has got our cradle bearings all nice and attached. Now the next thing we want to put in is our gearbox. Now this piece comes off there, but the gearbox goes right in this little crevice right here with the red tab. It's almost impossible to get this wrong, but you want the, you'll see there's a little nub that sticks up right there on the end of this. That needs to point toward the back. So we'll keep that just like that. We do have one more part that we need to put in place, and that is this screen that goes on the back. You may remember from before, the one that we had was fairly disintegrated. So we're going to slide that in just like so. And then we can nest the top half. And we're leaving this bottom half sitting like this. If we turn this over, this would fall off. The grill on the back has to fit in these little slots. There's two slots right here that it has to fit in. So that's a little bit of a, not a big challenge, but you do have to bear that in mind when you're putting this back together. So there we go. Just that easy. Okay, now that we've got these two pieces nested together, we want to place this bottom plate on. Actually, before we do that, we want to put two screws in these two middle slots right here. This is going to attach the upper and lower body halves. And get us past that point. Get those torqued down nice and snug. Now I want to show you something. Hopefully this shows up on camera. On the bottom of this body right here, not sure if that's showing up or not, but there's the letter R engraved there. And if we turn this over, there's the letter L engraved on this side. So there's a left and a right to this. And it's basically, if you're sitting behind this unit, left is going to be just like it says on the left and right is on the right. So it's as in the direction of movement. So that's going to be important for the shoes that we're going to be installing here in just a bit. So, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Before we get to that point, let's now install this bottom plate. All right, here we go. Got that on there, and then we have 4 more of our long screws. Just like down. And we have 4 more screws that go in the bottom, and that's 4 short screws. We have 2 holes here, and then we have 2 holes right down here. So we'll get these screws going in. All right, so now we've got those in. So that literally takes care of all of the internal parts. So the next thing we're going to do is attach the shoes, the front and back flaps, and then the 2 wings that go on. The next step is going to be to install our wings. Now these are labeled left and right. So if I look at this one, it may not show up on camera, but there's a little L embossed right there. So that's going to go on the left side. Remember, as it moves forward, so it's going to be this side. And there is an inside and an outside to this as well. So the inside of this is actually has the little shape like you see here. And the outside has these pins for holding the wings. Let's go ahead and get these installed. And what we're going to do is we're going to mate this. Whoops, I picked up the wrong one. Okay, here we go. There's also a top and a bottom. So you want to make sure these little spring-loaded things are on the bottom. This is what our feet are going to mount to, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But what we're going to do is push this up onto the body just like that. And then we'll do the other one on the other side. The same exact fashion. Just like that. Now we have 2 hex head screws. So tighten that up. All right, there we go. Looks good. Now we want to install our feet. And what we want to make sure of is that the side that's rounded over, that goes forward toward the front. And you can also, and it's impossible to make a mistake, because if you look at these 2 pins that are sticking up, one's a little bit bigger around than the other. So they're specifically keyed so that you can't install them the wrong direction. We want to make sure we have the holes aligned per the way these are keyed. And it's going to take a bit of pressure to pop those in. Just like that. There we go. So we've got that in. We'll do the same thing here. Again, use our screwdriver just to prevent this from getting pushed down below the point where it travels. They do go in, I promise you. There we go. Just about got that seated. Now, that's got 2 of our feet on. There we go. Got that seated nicely. Last foot to go in. There we go. All right. So we've got all of our rubber feet on. Now there's one other thing that we need to do here. All right. So we have 2 caps that need to go in. right here on the ends. Those are just friction fit, just like that. That covers up the screws that we just installed to hold the little feet. All right. So there we go. That's got that part done. Now we have the remaining parts to put in are the front and rear flaps, and these are labeled. So again, this is the front, the rounded end, and the back is the squared off end with the this would be the back. So here I have the rear flap that goes in, and these are pretty straightforward. There's not a lot to this. There's a little spring thing there that's going to go in just like that. There's also, and this may be very hard to see, right here's a little hole, and then right there's a little hole. And then the flap itself has 2 pins. And so those pins just need to go in those 2 holes. So there we go. Just like that. And if you can see this little blue piece of wire that was sticking out, how that ensures that this has spring action to it. So we do the same thing up here to the front. This one goes in very much the same way. All right. And then the last piece is installing our wings. A little interesting, there's little pins that stick straight out. And then we have the actual pins here that go through the holes. So you have to give these a little persuasion, a little bend to get them in, just like that. That's got one. And then we'll put the second one on. The process is exactly the same. Like so. There we go. All right. Now we have a fully assembled and completely rebuilt Hayward Navigator. The last thing we're going to do, and this is an experiment to tell you the truth on my part, and that is to use this water weld, this JB Weld water weld material to fill in these gaps here. We'll see how this does. Again, I am gonna, once I put this on, I'm gonna let it sit overnight before I actually put this back in the pool. But the instructions do say that it is supposed to be good to go like within an hour, but I'm not gonna take any chances. So we'll just coax this out of the tube and see what we can do. So we're just going to make sure we do this, and all I'm going to be doing is just filling in these little spots right here. It's not going to take a lot. Okay, there we go. All right. All right, so there we go. So we've completely rebuilt the Hayward Navigator Pool Vacuum, and it works. It's working great. So I've managed to breathe some new life into this thing and put off actually having to buy a new one, at least for the time being. So we'll see how much more life that I can squeeze out of this thing. But this is probably the last effort that I'll make to actually rebuild it. But I hope you enjoyed watching me rebuild this pool vacuum. Actually, it was a lot of fun. I love to tinker with this kind of stuff. Hopefully you got something out of this that's useful if you end up having to do something similar, or it was just entertaining. Either way, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. I greatly appreciate it. Helps out the channel a lot. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do. I release a video every week with me tinkering, fixing something, installing something, or just doing something here around the house or for a friend or a neighbor or something along those lines. Just never know what it's going to be. So with that, have a great day, have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you again on the next video.